we're ready to go.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Commissioners dated January 19, 2021. And before we go into the prayer by Commissioner Sakala and the pledge by Commissioner Block, I would like to read the remote attendance instructions. And that is participants can join the Zoom meeting using the following instructions. Log into www.zoom.us, then enter meeting ID 977-6119-6006, or dial either of the numbers below here, which I have in front of me, 1-312-626-6799, or 1-646-558-8656. Then enter the meeting ID 977-6119-6006 and press pound and then pound again. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have prayer by Commissioner Sarkella and then a pledge by Commissioner Block.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to come together and to serve our friends and neighbors. We ask that you be with us in our meeting. Help us to be wise and make strong decisions, always remembering that all good things come through you. In your son's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, if we could do roll call, please.
Okay. District 1, Commissioner John Black.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Bill Sarkella.
Here.
District 4, Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Here.
And District 2, Chairman Gary Huberling.
Here. Thank you, Denise. Moving on to our agenda, the adoption of agenda today, there is going to be one addition to our agenda, and that will be, and I think everyone has it in front of them, that will be NFA 004-21. That will be the last one that we do in new business. So I would like to get a motion for the adoption of the agenda with the addition of NFA 004-21.
I would make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, there's been a motion made to approve the adoption of the revised agenda. Support?
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Block. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. The adopted agenda is in place. Corrections to the minute. Is there any corrections from our meeting, our last meeting? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2021.
Move to approve the minutes.
Support. Okay, been a motion made in support to approve the minutes from January 5th, 2021. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed, minutes approved from January 5th, 2021. Correspondence, petitions, and introductions. Seeing none, we'll move on to Commissioner's report. Excuse me, there was one correspondence and the heads of the communication that was in front of you here. The January 9th, 2021 minutes from the Sanilac County Mental Health Report. You have that in front of you. Moving on to Commissioner's reports. I'll start with you, Commissioner Wyatt.
Well, we had a couple of committees meet. We'll, I'll reference those, or you can, in the committees section. Hasn't been too much going on in the townships. They're all ramping up their meetings, and there's been some issues in Worth Township. This is the new board establishes itself and moves forward. A couple issues with some of the BPW related things in regards to the sewer lines, but those have been referenced on to the road commission. Say that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wyatt. Commissioner Ballard.
Not a lot going on. We did have a park board meeting. There are numerous items on the finance agenda that you probably read. On my way home from that kind of conflicted with the Marlette Township meeting and the Buell Township. I did manage to stop in a Marlette Township and just kind of have a little discussion with Nathan Smith and Supervisor Wood. So was there about half hour visiting. It was general discussion.
And it's hard to always make every township meeting, but.
Well, I had to reschedule the park meeting by a
We
week,
all
so,
run into that.
and I do have an Elk Township meeting tonight I'll be zooming in on.
Thank you, Commissioner Ballard. Commissioner Sakala.
Sanilac Township had their Zoom meeting last Thursday. Was able to sit in on that. They've got a couple new officers there, so they're working on some things to clarify some of their paperwork, doing a great job with their water program that they have going. Some issues with finances because they're carrying some balances and they were looking for some options as to where to park some of their dollars moving forward. I reached out to Trudy and she's had a conversation with their treasurer to give them some guidelines on what to do financially with some of their assets.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner Sakala. Commissioner Black.
I reached out to a couple of townships in my district. There's a few that aren't having meetings as of right now, just due to COVID reasons. So other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Thank you, Commissioner Black. I attended 4 of my township meetings, and one of them is Moore Township. They have a new supervisor, Sid Thompson, does a great job of leading the meeting, and they always have a good meeting up there. And the one thing that's been brought out, and I think probably some of you have probably heard it in your township meeting, it's really hard to enforce a blight issue. And some of you have been on township boards, and Washington Township found some information that may help them. So I passed it out to Bridgehampton Township. That was my meeting the next night. So it's an ongoing saga, and they're trying to get their hands on it. And I think that's kind of across the board, but not only in this county, but several counties across Michigan. So end report on my behalf of my commissioner's report. At this time, I'll open it up to our administrator's report, and Tara.
Okay. Just one, or well, actually a couple items to mention. We are going to continue our healthcare discussions with our insurance broker, Gibson. So some of the commissioners that were here during our union negotiations back in 2019 probably recall sitting at the table and hearing from our union representatives that we need to focus on our healthcare and providing more affordable healthcare to employees. If you don't realize how it stands right now, we kind of have a tiered healthcare benefit system. So newer hired employees have to buy up to a family plan, which can be quite costly if you start at the county and maybe you're a single subscriber, then you get married, but then you have kids. It could be quite costly. So that was a concern from a lot of our union representatives. So now that we've gotten through this COVID a little bit, we are going to continue those discussions with our insurance broker. And hopefully that'll give us an opportunity to kind of go through what the different bargaining units are looking for and what goals they'd like to see us achieve as we work through this year, and then with open enrollment coming in July. So you'll hear more on that once we have that meeting that's scheduled for next week. And then also right now we're just working through year end. One of the items that has been kind of major on our list is the liability for the ongoing tax foreclosure lawsuit. I know we talked about this a little bit last year. The attorney is recommending that is probable that we will see some type of liability through that lawsuit. He's actually recommending that we look back 6 years and determine the surplus that was kept by the county, which is about 1.34 million. So we will have to book a liability for that this year. I should say for 2020. So we're just trying to determine what that's going to look like and how that's going to impact either our delinquent tax revolving fund or the tax foreclosure fund, and then how that impacts the availability for the general fund. So that's on the list. We're looking into that. And hopefully we'll have some more clarity. There were additional communications that came through from the attorney. So hopefully we'll see more information before the auditors are here, which is the end of February.
Thank you, Tara. And just add one thing to that. It appears now that it's probably going to happen most likely. I know we've had Trudy in a couple of those meetings and she's preparing for that, but it sounds like if everything goes what we'd like it to see, if it does, obviously we're going to have to pay back. We're thinking only 6 years, I think,
6
right?
years,
It's not going back 15 years or 20 years.
Right, the first lawsuit was issued in 2018, so the look back period would start from November of 2018. And go back, but I don't think that means going forward, like any money that was kept, say, from this year's sales couldn't have to be paid back. So, I mean, it could be more than the 1.34 million. This is just what's encompassed in that look back period, which is what the attorney's estimating. So I did hear as of yesterday that the treasurers, sounds like they were removed from the lawsuit, so it's just with the counties right now. And you know, that is statewide. It's quite a big ordeal right now, so we're working through that.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Appreciate your report. Moving on to our agenda, public comments. Any comments pertaining to agenda items? Anyone have any public comments? Seeing none, next up is Joanne Bai. We'll talk about and vote on it later in the meeting, but recycling center. Joanne, you have the floor.
Just wanted to kind of update everybody so everybody's on the same page when we get asked about our roll-offs, because I believe Commissioner Wyatt had some people contacting them. So what's happened for some of the newer commissioners, we have a in-kind service from Waste Management, which is $10,000. That was put in place 30 years ago. So as you well know, gas prices were 30 cents then, and now they're, $2.35. So everything at Waste Management has gone up. When we got these roll-offs, they were in 7 places when it originally started. And we are down to 4 now. We have 1 in Marlette, 1 in Worth, 1 in Brown City at the schools, and by contract, we have to have 1 at Tri-County. So we pulled them because we were told that we had used all our in-kind services, probably April, May of last year. And when Kara and I looked at it and we went over it a lot, and we noticed that our garbage was taking up the majority. It used to be $200 and it ended up being like $1,100 or $1,200. So about $5,000 was the price of what we were paying for garbage. So I talked to John Gall, and John Gall is the new person that we're working with Waste Management, and he's been great as far as working with them. So what we've come up with is, before when you took the roll off, it was about $60, $70. Now it's $200 and some odd dollars. So what we decided to do was, I am going to pay for our garbage. I bid it out. It's $126 a month, which is about $1,200, $1,500. And I was paying that 4 times over. So we are going to be using the in-kind services as $10,000, and we will be able to take and haul 48 roll-offs. So what we did with those 4, we tried to kind of even it up. Worth Township uses it more than most. So what we did is Worth Township will have it from January to the end of March, and then they will have it in November and December. And what we tried to do is we tried to make it, a lot of older people are living down in the township. They don't want to drive up here. So what we did is we made it so that it's winter time. We're avoiding the summer residents, and they'll just have to bring it up here if they're interested in doing it. But they are going to have it 20 weeks or 20 times dumped. Marlette is going to have it, and they are going to have it 12 times a year, which will be probably an average of a month. Just to explain that, Marlette Township is willing, if they go over that, say for instance, they do 13 or 14, they are willing to pay that extra $200 to keep that roll off there. So
Marla.
Marlette
Yep.
Township. So what happens is, and everybody's allowed to do that, but a lot of townships don't have that kind of money. So, so what we're doing is Worth is 20, Marlette is 12, and then between Brown City and Tri-County is gonna be, the 18 is gonna be split. So if Brown City uses it 3 times, then the rest are gonna go to the landfill, which in fact, it is an obligation of our contract, that our host agreement, that we have a roll-off out there. A lot of people will say to me, that's 5 miles away from the recycling center. But in our host agreement 30 years ago, it was mandatory that they had a roll-off out there for their people out there. So that's,
What community is that again?
so,
That you just described?
oh, Tri-County has with that host agreement that we have, Mr. Wyatt, it says that we have to have a roll-off out there. That's in the host agreement,
At Tri-County, meaning where the.
where the
waste
landfill
management-
is.
Right, where the landfill.
Right, and that would be what, Bridgehampton Township?
Yeah.
Bridgehampton.
Yes.
Yep.
So that was the agreement in the host agreement. And again, like I said, it's 30 years old, but we have to work with what we have. So by doing that, we're gonna free up, and we'll have 48 dumps a year.
Mhm.
If Worth Townships decides that they wanna have more than, they dump once a week. So they can do that. And the other thing that we're talking about doing is, I've talked to the sheriff department, they have 2 trailers that they're probably gonna be selling. And I just bought 4 trailers through that equipment. So
Here in town.
what our idea is if I can get the people to cooperate, I will have a trailer sitting by that roll-off, and it's only used for cardboard. So then the rest of the recyclables will go in there, and we can use that trailer and move that back and forth.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the idea, so that we're gonna be able to save some more room for recyclables, plastic, paper, and things like that. So that's kind of our mostly, we've got the cameras.
The trailers from the sheriff department, that's a product of when we approved a new trailer.
Yes,
Sure.
yes, I've already talked to a couple of the lieutenants there, and I said I'm interested in them. Not saying that, they're working on getting the new trailer, and then they'll, post that they're gonna have those for sale. So I'm hoping, I have 4 trailers now, and I get those 2, I will be able to put a trailer at each site. So when I go to pick the trailer up, I will drop one off. And then I'll bring that back, and then when the next time it gets full, we'll just do a rotating, kind of like what the roll-offs are doing. And that way we're gonna have more room, and I think we'll do okay, so.
I just, the reason I asked that, I knew that because we're part of the recycle committee, but I wanted the rest of the commissioners to hear what your plan was. And,
Right,
and
so.
by the way, you've done a great job getting that stuff from here in county, and
Yeah,
good price,
I was
so.
really happy because, one of the balers that we just bought is like a $10,000 baler. They just bought it, and got a grant with it, and we got it for $4,500, I think is what we ended up getting it for. And everybody asked me why I need so many balers. Originally, when we started, I had 3 balers. I worked at the sheriff department and I ran the work crew, and we would go down there. We had 3 balers. Well, right now we have 11. So we use those all the time. Every time that we process something, it goes right into that baler. And then when we make a bale, we just keep on going and going. 3 of those balers have been there over 30 years. So with the idea that if we have to change them out, we can. And also, our cardboard has gone up probably about 100,000 pounds just this last year. So with the cardboard being that, we're gonna need a 3rd baler to do bales. Yesterday, I was by myself because everybody, we have a small crew because most of the people have to work during the holidays. We did 6 bales yesterday. So we did 8,000 pounds of cardboard. So, and that was from over the weekend,
Mhm.
so, but We have cameras now, as I said, and the IT put them up. I've gone to the prosecuting attorney, I've reached out to them, they're going to be, they gave me some information on what to put on some of our signs so that Brett Lester can prosecute if we have any problems. So that's gonna eliminate some stuff. By announcing in the paper that we have, you know, the cameras, that's gonna help. So, that's some of the things that are going on. Really short on help as everyone else.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to doesn't have the people, you know? So, and there's nothing you can do about it. You go to get them hired and then they don't either show up for a drug test or they don't end up coming in. So that's some of our problems as far as that goes. But, trying to see if there's anything else that we need to go over. Some of the things that we did buy that you don't know is that we bought 3 balers. We bought a GMC truck. It has 55,000 miles on it. We bought 4 trailers and then just some baling and wire and things like that. So Thumb Industries, they were run by the mental health division of Huron County. And they needed more funding because the state had cut out a lot of their monies and they just couldn't get anybody to back them as far as getting a millage going. So they decided to opt out of it, so.
Joanne, just to clarify, the reason that we purchased a truck, the other truck was, had what, over 200,000 miles on?
13,000.
And it was an older truck, so,
Yeah.
the recycle committee just didn't go out and buy trucks. We thought we needed a truck. We did need a truck and,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
If I remember right, that was a animal control truck.
Yes.
So it
Jim
had-
Hanson put a lot, and I've had that, probably 4 years or
At
something.
least.
Yeah, at least 4 years, so, yeah, and the truck that we got only has 55,000 miles on it. So it should be a halfway decent truck, so,
And they got a good deal on it, yeah.
yeah.
Any questions for Joanne?
Ms. Bai, in reference to the locations of the roll-offs, the recycling roll-offs, they're not the entity of that townships. They don't pay extra to have it there.
No.
It isn't because, you know, we like them more. It's because of the geographic location and population density usage configured into those places.
Right.
So I'm wondering, you know, because when a municipality on their own, in this case Marlette Township, or if it were Worth, decided to pony up extra funds that come from their specific township residents to pay for additional dumping on a millage-based operation, is that going to be a problem for other people from other areas dropping off their recycling? I know, for example, the question was brought up by Worth Township board members that, you know, hey, we don't want people from Croswell dropping off their stuff here. And I said, listen, it's a Sanilac County initiative. Anybody can drop off anything.
Right.
But if you've got these municipalities that are going to be paying out of their own pocket and the pockets of their residents to have additional dumping, there'll be a potential problem there because you get a little proprietary. And I could understand why. So why are we not paying for those additional transfers out of the overall millage funding rather than just the $10,000 in kind?
Well, what happens is if I start doing that, we're gonna run into a problem. Anybody, first of all, that people have said, we've talked about having someone else haul for us. It's $500 to do that. It was brought up with John Gall and myself. We talked about it. John said he was more than willing to do that. You feel that that's not gonna be, gonna be an issue. I've never had Marlette Township. Marlette is not watched. I mean, there's cameras there, but I'm sure that Marlette City and everyone else, it's not their roll-off. It's our roll-off, the county's roll-off. And so I guess if you don't want that, we can, not have that, but I don't think anybody's, we didn't go to these people and say, Worth Township came to me and asked me, are you gonna have this roll-off? Can we have a roll-off? I said, yes. I have gone to Port Sanilac. I tried numerous times to get the person in charge at Port Sanilac to take one. And I can't get one there for the life of me. I even went to a place outside the city to the west and talked to a gentleman about putting one out there. But he was concerned about the contamination and things, so that's part of it. So something I want to do, I would like to explain to you, because you and I have had many conversations. And you have mentioned to me that people will come to you, and I'm sure that they're going to do this to everyone. They come to you and say, we voted for the millage because we wanted the roll-off. When the millage was set up, the promise that we made to the citizens was nothing to do with the roll-off. It was done.
That's correct.
It was done that we would keep the recycling center open. I've had many people come up and say, hey, I don't have my roll-off anymore. I'm not gonna pay my taxes because of that. That was never, we have never, ever said that we were gonna have a roll-off. That was decided after the millage went in. We thought we would be able to work on it. So anybody that says that to you, I just want you to be aware. That was not a promise that was made. It was promised that we would keep the recycling center open 24/7. The doors would be open, the gates would be unlocked, and they could go anytime they wanted. So if that ever comes up, I want everyone to be aware.
I've been addressed with that and addressed it the same way you did.
Yes.
And I don't know where that misnomer started, but the millage was to keep recycle open 24/7. That's
Right.
period.
And the reason that we originally, when I first started down there, they shut down the roll-offs because, the sheriff had taken away the prisoners. And had two people down there trying to work. And what happened is that we went in to go to a roll-off and there was a piece of glass that was a mirror and it was jarred and the guy almost cut himself in half. So we decided to get rid of the roll-offs for a while. And that was the reason, because they were so contaminated. So they have improved tremendously. And I'm hoping with the idea that we have the cardboard trailers, that we're gonna have more room and we're gonna have, a better turnout, I guess I should say. So, anybody else have any questions?
I have a quick question, Joe, and I'm really unfamiliar with this, and I appreciate all the information you provided. The $10,000 in services is that's the cap, and there's only so many times that roll-off can be taken and dumped with that money. I guess my question is why is it capped at 10,000? Is that just what's in the budget in the recycling center setup, or?
That's what they have. Back 30 years ago, and we're talking a long, long time ago, 30 years ago. It was set at $10,000. There was other things that were with that post-agreement. So we've never had a problem until just the last couple of years. And apparently we've been going over, and then the garbage, and they came to us and said, we can't do this anymore. We cannot continue business like this. You have to cap it. So in April, we'd only been 4 months, and they said, you've already met your max. So we had to sit down and figure out some way how to do this. And if I use all the money on roll-offs, I'm not gonna have enough money. So.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
If there was still a desire for a roll-off in Port Sanilac, you have a new person appointed to your board from District 3 who is a resident of Port Sanilac, so perhaps she can help you with that
Right.
if you wish to pursue that going
We're
forward.
gonna wait and see what's going on. At this, right now, I know it's been, and I know the gentleman, I've known him for years, since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, but he just didn't want to do it. But we can look at that future, we're gonna have to divide it up against, and that's the problem, is right now, I don't have enough people to even do the roll-offs. So we're really short. I was working yesterday with 3 people and that was it. And we usually have 11 on Mondays. So. Anybody else? Did that answer your question, Bill?
Yes, John asked a question. I don't know, it feels like it'd be worth just to give a real quick summary of how that $10,000 in-kind
services agreement came into play because it's very specific to Waste Management operating that facility there in that location in Bridgehampton Township. They have to have a permit through Bridgehampton Township to do so. And it's an agreement that's been expired for quite some time. In a real simple way, explain why it's a benefit for us to continue in the way we are.
As far as the way,
Well, to
Having the drop-offs?
well,
yeah, utilizing that in-kind services rather than renegotiating for something else.
okay. I need to explain one thing. I have nothing to do with the host agreement. No, I've not been part of it, never was. That is the Board of Commissioners. And like I said, I think it was 89 that it was done, or 90, somewhere around there. I had heard that you guys were talking at one time, you know, some of the former board were talking about renegotiating that. I've heard several people say that's not a good idea. And I've had several people say, yes, it should be. I do know there's 2 places that have a host agreement with Waste Management. I'm trying to get a hold of one of them is Lennox County or Lennox Township down in towards Mount Clemens, would you say?
Yep.
Okay. And the other one is over in Flint area, Grand Blanc, and over that way. I don't know. This was something that was done 30 years ago. There was no foresight in what was going to happen. You know, we didn't go. So I don't know. The only thing that I deal with in the host agreement, I get none of the monies that is delegated. I think they get so much money per yard. Am I correct? And that goes to the county. I do not get any of that. The only thing that I get from the host agreement is the in-kind services. So if that was something the board, you talked about that, Joel, opening that up. You know, in this day and age, 48 times or $10,000 doesn't go very far. So you have to look at that.
Well, it's true. Most residents do have an opinion that that is definitely part and parcel of what they're paying. The expectation, particularly since they've been in their community so long, they have a feeling like this is our recycling. And that's why they spend money out of their own township pocket to put cameras in and the like. The township board generally knows that it's not theirs per se, but it's a benefit for their community. Most of the community members feel that it's theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do get that. And that is not why I have it where it is because they asked for it. I said, yeah. One of the requirements is if you have a roll-up, that you have a camera, because we were running into all sorts of problems. As you mentioned, the water down there, I was so, you know, I tell them, if we're gonna have issues like that, you're not gonna have it anymore, you know. And Work Township is great. They will call me and tell me, hey, I just saw a red truck, here's the license plate. They'll text me, they'll give me all the information, and I give it to the sheriff department. So, you know, and it's their baby, kind of, I understand that, so. Anybody else got any questions?
I think that's good, Joanne. Thank you. Good report, and thank you for attending our meeting and giving a report.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it. Moving on, our agenda, appointments to standing committees. County Commissioners appointments to boards have none. County Commissioners appointments, boards and commission committees, none. County Commission chair appointments, none. General resolutions, none. Committee reports, and I will open that back up. I think Roger and, excuse me, Commissioner Ballard and Commissioner Wyatt, you reported basically what your committees have done last week. So is there any further discussion on committee reports? Seeing none, we will move on. Unfinished business, have none today. 18 on our agenda, new business, finance, administration. And we'll move on to our first one is FA-12-21, and that's approval of 2020 current claims by the Board of Commissioners.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2020 identified on the accounts payable report dated January 12th, 2021 for the general bank account in the amount of $101,097.79.
Support.
There's been a motion and support for FA 01221. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 013-21, approval of 2021 current claims by the Board of Commissioners.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2021 identified on the accounts payable report dated January 12th, 2021 for the general bank account in the amount of $73,913.61.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and support for FA 01321. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. FA 014-21, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers by Board of Commissioners.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following accounts.
There's been a motion support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 01521, approval of additional general fund bank account checks charged December 2020.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of additional general fund bank account checks charged to December 2020 as follows.
Support?
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and support for FA 01521. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. NFA 002-21, authorization to post and fill vacancy and approval of job description, County Clerk's Office.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the county clerk to post and fill a court clerk vacancy at a pay grade 5 and further approves the following amended job description.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? And before there's just, if there's any discussion,
Yeah.
as you'll see in the bottom of the page, a job description and the essential duties and incidental duties. Commissioner Wyatt?
Well, let me preface by saying this I should have said something during the committee reports. The personnel committee did meet on this and the other ones. I'm not sure, it must have just slipped by me. Nevertheless, we can talk about it in this discussion period. Denise, this is the same job that last year we looked at too. Okay.
I have two.
Right, and it's not an additional FTE, filling a vacant FTE that we also approved last year, right? And you've changed the language on it.
The job description, yes.
What are the sections that you changed in the job description?
It was just a section under essential duties and responsibilities. I asked the board to delete that the employee was required to prepare a verbatim court transcript.
Okay. And was there any other approvals that you needed to get for that to happen?
Well, the whole concept behind this is I want to change the format in my office for my court reporters to not be required to be a CER, certified electronic reporter, because now we have video equipment. And with video equipment, you don't need those requirements as far as what they need to do for me and my job and what I'm required to do in a courtroom. So I want to change that requirement to a certified electronic operator. it still requires a state certification, but it's much simpler and it's just logging. And in order to do that, it requires the chief judge of the county's endorsement in order to sign those employees up. So this was the first step, is to get the job description changed, because I would like to post this with the new format. You know, it's always been required that we require them to be a CER. It's a very difficult test. It's a 2-part test they have to go to the state to do. But they're not allowed to do any of their transcribing on county time. They have to do it at home. They have to invest in the equipment at home. And when I got talking with all the other county clerks that have video recording in the courtroom, they no longer require any of that. There are still quite a few CERs in the building that are more than willing to do transcripts. And even if we get to the point where we don't have anybody, there's companies all over that does this. So that's the direction that I want to go in. And this was the time, because I have now, once I fill this position, 2 brand new court clerks that, you know, it's a long process to get them in the courtroom with the CER. So, but yes, step 2 is Judge Ross will have to endorse this change.
When I look at the job description, what if that person can't pass those certifications? Granted, it's a far less than what was prior expected, but what happens if they can't?
There's always been a LAO, which is a local administrative order that judges do, and we've always had that order in place. We pay for 2 times. If they successfully cannot, the 3rd time they can take it and pay for it on their own, and it has to be the exact, because the state only does them quarterly. Then it's right in the LAO that they will be terminated if they can't pass.
So wouldn't that be one of the major or essential duties to achieve that? Are you including that under record and log court proceedings?
Well, the qualifications and skills is a high school diploma or equivalent, and certification as a court recorder, not a reporter. So
the certification as a court recorder is required before you even get the job?
no, we do that. It will take a good 6 months to obtain that certification after they're employed.
The reason why I ask is because when I think of qualifications and skills, that's what we expect you to already possess, not what we will be training you in the future. And so, you know, just for the purpose of, you know, something happened later on, it's not expected that they actually have that, is the way you hired people. So anything under qualifications and skills is a negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, this has been format language that they've always prepared in here. I mean, we could put high school diploma or equivalent, and certification as a court reporter will be obtained. We could do that.
But you could have somebody that had 2 years of experience, I don't know, being a pipe fitter, and they test well and they come across real well. You could not necessarily require that as a qualification. You could work with.
Yeah, I mean, this is a first step throughout the building that hopefully we'll see a lot of this changing, because these are very difficult jobs to fill.
Sure.
Very difficult, because it's a big commitment to ask these employees to do all of this work on their own time, nights and weekends, and they have to invest in their own equipment to be able to do that at home. It deters a lot of people from applying for these jobs. So that's really a big incentive in changing.
The reason why I bring it up, and please indulge me this last bit, is when I look at qualifications and skills as an applicant who's applied for job applications, when I look at that, I'm not a court recorder, I might as well not even apply.
Sure. No, actually, we can just take it out completely.
Well, I'm not telling you what to do or anything. I'm just wondering,
Right.
you know, where does our responsibility go to allow applicants to be, you know, pulled from a broad spectrum of people, because we're allowed, you know, we'll train you for this, or we'll train you for that. But when I think of it, I always thought, when I looked at these job descriptions, and I looked at quite a few of them, like, That's non-negotiable. You have to have that. If it said you had to have a high school diploma or equivalent, you had to have that. If you had to have, for example, a 2-year associate's degree in, whatever, you gotta have that. If we demanded a CPA as being part of that job requirement, well, you gotta have a CPA. We're not gonna train you. I was just wondering if that's how you took it to me.
Well, I mean, I have no problems, just high school diploma equivalent and,
I'm not asking you to change it though, Cindy.
no, I have no problem with it, because you make a valid point, that is true. And that's the whole purpose of changing this, is I want to attract very, a wide digress of people. Because usually, I mean, honestly, we do not get a lot of applicants for these jobs.
Well, and you have closed off the opportunity for you to reach certain applicants because they don't meet that qualification. And I bring this up because I'll just say it now, it has to bleed over into the next applicant that we're looking at. Whereas if requirements were made, for example, for a driver's license, is that absolutely required? I would say it's absolutely required, but it seems like we can negotiate it.
No, I would recommend, right, that we just say or equivalent, and then just delete and certification as a court recorder. That was-
Well, by changing or relaxing your requirements too, it certainly should open up your pool of candidates a little more.
Right, and that truly is the intent behind it.
Isn't part of the problem that there are not certified court recorders out there that are out of work?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I pulled all the other counties, it was overwhelming, the response that there's so many courthouses, they do not even have one in their building.
So they hire from outside independent?
Well, the thing is, there's nothing that we need a court reporter for. This does not change their job. What it comes entail, you have to be a certified CER. If an attorney comes in to order a transcript, then that has to be done. It doesn't mean a county employee has to do that.
And I'm gonna ask a dumb question here. When they're doing transcripts from home, how are they compensated?
It's basically a side business. The attorney pays them.
The attorneys,
We
not
have
the county.
Nothing financially involved with
Okay.
it. They actually order it, they pay them, and then they make arrangements to pick that up. And it's arrangement between the court reporter, and that's where when I met with personnel, we basically, I have nothing involved to do with that. It does not affect anything with my job that we have to do in our office.
So, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Wyatt, for your questions. And to make this work here in this meeting, we're going to have to do a friendly amendment. So are we all in agreement? We cut out the equivalent certifications as court recorder?
I'm not advocating for that, Gary, if that's what your question alludes to. I'm just bringing up the question of, when we look at job descriptions, what's required or not? And going, I mean, if this is the way it's been done and everybody's happy with it, so be it. I would say that in the future, we should have qualifications are non-negotiable. Because otherwise you miss out on pool of applicants, and that becomes something that's not fair for individuals who are looking for that job. And they see those qualifications being required, or at least stated as such as qualifications, they don't meet them, so they don't apply.
But I recommend, on this one, these are the job descriptions for my office with the court clerk. I would like that removed, because I was more focused on the essential duties and responsibility and editing that. I guess we've always had them in there, but we've never, we've taken other people from other types of medical background,
Right.
And they've been incredible employees.
So eliminate certification as court
Right.
reporter?
Yep.
I'm down with that.
Yep.
So
And
do we need to do a friendly amendment to the motion?
Yeah, so you just make a motion for a friendly amendment
So-
to strike out that line.
Yeah, I will,
and Roger,
yeah, I will make that motion.
Okay,
as long as they
And
agree, then.
I support. Yep.
okay. We've had a motion and support and friendly amendment to the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Oop.
I just wanted to discuss that before we said aye. May I discuss that friendly amendment?
Yeah,
So what I'm left with feeling is that indeed, we do look at the job qualifications and skills as being relatively or absolutely non-negotiable. That these applicants must possess those qualifications and skills to even be filling out an application or even be considered for an interview or however the process is. But it's not something that we're gonna say, you don't really have to have a high school diploma or equivalent. You can have, nothing. Is that the position that seems to be?
Well, it's pretty straightforward that they need qualifications as high school diploma and a minimum of 2 years of experience in legal office.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Gary. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, now I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Again, thank you for the good discussion on that as we move forward. Next is NFA 003-21, authorization to fill vacancy buildings and grounds by the Board of Commissioners.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the county administrator controller fill the building and ground supervisor vacancy at a pay grade 8.
Any support on that?
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and support. I'll open it up for discussion.
Tara, this is a position that's been evaluated independently by our classification,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And this also fits under a new hire, so we have the ability to set a pay grade to some degree in terms of steps, right?
Correct.
Yep.
In the negotiations, hire the person. Yeah.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up, gentlemen, is because I should have probably brought it up in the personnel committee reports and I failed to do so, so I apologize. So that's an important consideration of where this job is offered, and the pay scale in which it's offered is allowable under our policy that for new hires, in order to attract, applicants, we can offer a pay scale that isn't exactly commensurate with one that would be if you were transferred from another department or chose to leave one department under the county and go to another. That makes sense.
That is in our policy, and I'm not exactly what section's in, maybe you already know, but.
Correct, and being that this is an appointed position, we don't have to follow the steps that are outlined within the pay grade.
And since we brought up the job description and the qualifications, I'm not looking at the job description for this particular job, but there are some qualifications required and the applicants will have to meet those, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion and support. Any further discussion for NFA 003-21? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Last on new business is NFA 004-21, adoption of extension to the emergency paid sick leave policy. Commissioners.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts an extension to the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act policy as follows.
Had been a motion and support for NFA 004-21. Any further discussion, questions, comments?
Could you guys fill me in just a little bit on this? Just a little bit of history on it. I read the email that you had sent, Tara, but this is essentially extending a policy that would allow some rollover paid sick leave due to COVID, but this would end in the month of March of this year.
It's
Correct.
90 days, yeah.
Yeah, so initially, the Department of Labor had required or mandated that we offer an additional 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave. If you're an employer who has less than 500 employees, which we fit into that. So in April, we did adopt this policy as it's written, but the Department of Labor did end or expire that policy on December 31st. We did have requests from one of our collective bargaining units to look at potentially extending the benefits through March 31st, since we're still in the midst of this COVID and we're hoping that it gets better, obviously. And they felt that it would be it would be a little reassurance for their members if we were able to extend those benefits.
And to be clear, this is a cost to the county that could have been taken care of to a private business through tax credits that we do not qualify for.
Correct.
So we, potentially, this is, county taxpayers are going to be footing the bill for this.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That answers all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, are there employees that have used personal sick time in this time since December 31st?
Yes,
Will those hours go back, their personal
yeah,
leave go back to them?
yes. Yeah, based on, I think we determined we had about 24 employees who have utilized this emergency paid sick leave since we implemented it. I think we have about 45 employees who would still be eligible for it. However, a lot of employees have capabilities to work remotely. So I doubt you'll see that much utilization between now and March, just based on.
And most of them, I think, Tara, were only a couple days, right?
Correct, yep.
So it's not a huge, like a week or 2 weeks of paid vacation. I think the longest one was 2 days, maybe 3, so. And I just want to add to that, Commissioner Wyatt, and I sat in those personnel meetings, listened to the questions or what was brought for us if we could do that. And I want to say this, I have to look at both sides, not only as a chairperson, but as a human being. And we didn't ask for this COVID. It's affected many lives, many families, many friends. And I know in many circles, it's contentious about, wearing the mask, all this stuff, but we didn't ask for this. And I made the comment, and I'll make it in this meeting here. I think morally, if we can exhibit that and move that out 90 days to cover some of our people that cannot work from home and have no other way of income, I think as a board of commissioners, and I'm going to speak for myself, at least for now, I think it was a moral and ethical thing to move forward on.
Tara, how did the update on that COVID-19 policy come? When will that be sent out?
We can send it out as soon as tomorrow, but I wanted to determine if I needed to put these extra benefits in there or not, so.
Can you just, I don't know if everybody got copied on that, but we're talking about it. You're bringing it up. It's worth making a mention.
Yeah,
Changes.
so the county, one of the requirements to reopen the building back in June was to prepare a preparedness and response plan for COVID. So basically what that does is it outlines the county's response to whether it's putting additional signage in the building, limiting capacities as we have in this room, the mask wearing, the social distancing, the meetings remotely versus in person. So basically any effort that we can do to ensure the safety of our employees and our visitors, we had to take measures and put those into place. Another big item was the plexiglass that we put up in several offices. So we've taken measures to ensure employee safety, but what we found, and I know this happens everywhere, I mean, we see it outside of work, but what we found with our latest round of, we had a COVID positive case, which then quarantined several employees, all because they weren't wearing masks. So we had been informed by our health officer and our medical professionals that, in areas like this where there's no walls, we're all breathing the same air, even if we're maintaining the 6 feet of distance, we were advised you need to have your masks on, because if I have COVID and none of you are wearing your mask, guess what? We're all quarantined. So in an effort to prevent that from happening and to keep our departments open to the public as we want to be, we initiated a mask wearing in all open spaces such as this. If we were working at our desk, we would all be in here wearing masks all day. So that was one of the major changes to the plans that we're implementing. I know we're getting pushback from that, but.
Well, they weren't changes though. They were there all along, but they
Right.
weren't
We're spelling them
emphasized
out
to
a little
great
bit better.
degree. But the
Right.
requirements of MIOSHA, that's the most important part, is that MIOSHA compels us to do so. We can get fined, and if you look across the state of Michigan, multiple municipalities have already suffered fines for not following those MIOSHA requirements to the letter almost.
Right.
So when this topic came up about, the sick time, the extension, who has to pay for it, it's a legitimate concern on the part of the union. Grievance was legitimate, the employee as well. But it backtracks to a sense of responsibility that each employee has to follow the county policy, which puts us in good line with following MIOSHA.
Right.
So Tara did a good job of re-emphasizing that in the updated COVID policy. Thank you.
I think it was good to revise it, and it exemplifies that we want everyone in our courthouse to be safe and keep them from this pandemic, so.
With the changes of administration nationally, the Department of Labor could rule on this going forward and possibly extend the time frame. Would that supersede our motion then from at some point in the
I would
future? If they
think
said
that
maybe
would,
June
yeah.
or whatever?
If they require it, as of it is right now.
They'd have to require it.
Right, okay.
So we're doing this as a benefit to those employees, like Gary said, because we have some compassion and heart. We recognize the issues that they're dealing with. But you're right, if they decided on their own to make that a requirement, we'd have to rethink the whole thing.
Okay.
And then, as Tara said, it ended on December 31st, so.
Right.
But yeah, it would, to answer your question, I know we went all around the bush. Yeah, that would supersede something with that. So, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Any public comments? Again, that's pertaining to our agenda. Seeing none, I will ask that we do a roll call to go into closed session.
You gotta do a motion first.
Oh, sorry.
I'll move that we go into closed session.
Support.
A motion made in support to go into closed session. Denise, you want to do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Sakala,
Yes.
Commissioner Valley,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
and Chairman Huber.
Yes.
Give me a minute here so I can.